It is one of the oldest political parties of India, in fact, the oldest political party of India. And today, the Congress party finds itself largely politically irrelevant. Perhaps my guest might not completely agree with that assessment, but I find that the Congress party, because of its dismal election record in recent elections, finds itself being largely out of the mainstream of political action. Having said that, what is really the biggest problem for the Congress party? It finds itself leaderless, directionless, and perhaps with a lot of infighting. On this episode of The Note, I have a very special guest. He's an author of several books, some very close to what's happening within the Congress party. In fact, his latest book, The House of Scindias, really looks at the House of Scindias and how they have moved from autocratic times to democracy. A fascinating account there, and I'll come to that. Rashid Kidwai, a senior columnist, journalist, and also author. Thank you so much for joining me on The Note.
Thank you, Madhav.
Mr. Kidwai, I'm going to ask with a very basic, generic, and perhaps the hardest question. What is the biggest problem that you feel that besets the Congress party?
I think all political parties are there in political arena to win. So absence of electoral success is the biggest obstacle. The Congress has lost also in the past. In 1977, it was almost decimated. In 1989 also it lost power. In 1996 also it lost power. But never before there was a sense of despondency. There was always a thing that they'll come back, and they did come back. This
Hmm.
time around, that hope is not there. So I think that's the biggest hurdle. It is not electoral, defeat series of it that we are talking about, but future looks very bleak. They are not able to find any answer to either Narendra Modi or the BJP's brand of politics, which accords a degree of primacy to religion and faith.
Mr. Kidwai, they were decimated in the West Bengal elections. Now we see another front opening in Punjab. You have in Captain Amrinder Singh a chief minister who has proven himself over and over again. But what is the leadership of the Congress party doing? Almost seeming to cozy up to Mr. Sidhu, who is, of course, one of the biggest rivals of Captain Amrinder Singh. How do you explain this? Is this the old politics of the Congress party, always playing one regional satrap against the other? Or haven't they learned from their lessons?
I think Manok, it's a lot more political. It is directed by survival instincts. We all say that Captain Amrinder Singh is an old war horse, who is a veteran and all that. Three times he has won and three times he has lost also. So in Punjab, you see election results. After 5 years, there is a tendency to change power. There were some exceptions, but generally that has been a trend. In that situation, Congress internal assessment is that Captain Amrinder Singh on his own would not make it. Now, when you have it in a piece of paper, you may disregard it, but then it would be suicidal to go ahead with Captain Amrinder Singh alone. So what they are trying to do, what BJP did in Assam, that they had this, under the leadership of Sonowal, they fought, but after
Mhm.
election, they made, a person who was a chief campaigner, who was a kind of their point man in the not only in the state but the entire northeast, that Hemanta Biswa Sarma. So this is a kind of model they are working. They will fight under captain's leadership. They're not going to, make him resign. Also, he's 79, and some of the promises, a lot of anti-incumbency sets in, but they're betting on Sidhu because that on the Kartarpur Sahib corridor issue, he found a
Hmm.
lot of traction. He has a lot of support among the so to say Sikh voters, and secondly, he has a relatively clean image.
Mr. Kidwai, on the one hand is Punjab, another front is Gujarat, where they're still in the search of a state unit chief. Again, there seems to be a lethargy, this last minute politics going on. We are a year away from assembly elections in Gujarat. What really happens in the background? Is there a lot of delay? Are there machinations at play? Why is this that on the one hand, we have a BJP that is so clear cut in what it wants to do, a lean, mean fighting machine as far as elections are concerned. And then we see this complete lethargy as far as the Congress party is concerned.
So, Manok, you have raised a very pertinent issue. I will answer it in two parts. First part is that which is slightly theoretical and historical. It happens in a life of a political party that you have leaders, you have orators, you have campaigners, but it doesn't click. You look at, for 57 years or so, the Congress was in power. It was not that in opposition ranks there were no dearth of good leaders. You had Jayaprakash Narayan, Morarji Desai, Madhu Limaye, Lohia, not to talk of Jyoti Basu and Atal Bihari Vajpayee, several very towering leaders. But until 1977, they could not beat Indira Gandhi. A similar thing is happening now. There is Modi and he is clicking. So there is nothing that you can explain. This is part one. So it happens. Highs and lows are part and parcel of a political party. There was a BJP which was formed in 1980, and in 1984 it was 2 seats. Even Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee had lost. So in that sense, but that's not comforting for Congress. What's happening in Gujarat is absolutely, I mean, I agree with you what you have described. There's some bit of a bad luck also, because in 2017 assembly elections of Gujarat, Rahul Gandhi had fought it very good, almost evenly. There was all kind of things that he had got. He would visit a lot of temples, and he had drummed up a lot of support. He had got many youngsters, but other than Hardik Patel, they all have gone back. The
Hmm.
Congress point man, he's recently, due to COVID, unfortunately, Rajiv Satav died. So
Right.
whatever kind of strategy that he was putting in place is gone. Now they would
Hmm.
need a new man. So there are a lot of challenges. But I agree with you. I don't give much hope to Congress in Gujarat, because Mr. Modi comes from that. It's a linguistic state, and the Congress does not have a towering leader.
Now, on the one hand, is the problems that they're facing in various regions of the country. The other is the problem that they're facing from within, which is as big. There's this so-called, infamously, the G23 group, which raised a lot of noise, but then seems to have been, a lot of them have been equised back into the party fold. Now you have the latest, person quitting from the Congress party is Jiten Prasada. What is happening with the G23, and are they symbolic of a larger malaise within the Congress party?
Again, I would say, you have a real eye for kind of details, and you pick up issues that are, very complex in nature. I'll try to give a kind of simple answer. See, political loyalty is transactional. It is the famous man who had coined this slogan, Indra is India and India is Indra. See, when Indira Gandhi lost in 1977, he went and deposed before Shah Commission of Inquiry against Indira Gandhi. This
Hmm.
is sum and substance of that kind of political loyalty we have. So as long as Gandhis could make, Congress people win, they were all happy. But now that the Gandhis are faltering and failing, so people are going. In 1977, two-thirds of Congress had left Indira Gandhi. In 1969 also. In 2014 and 19, back to back, two big electoral debacles, but very few people actually left the Congress. So here Congress is settled with so many former chief minister, former cabinet ministers, and they're used to it. Having a house in New Delhi, a berth in Rajya Sabha, kind of a secretariat and all, which Gandhis cannot extend any political patronage any longer. So people are looking at greener pastures. Now the
Hmm.
thing is that vacancies in the BJP are very few. So if the BJP is to open doors for Congress, I think perhaps half of them will go. But the BJP is very selective. They are picking people like Jyotirmadya Scindia, people like this Himanta Sarba, people like Jitin Prasada, who are young, and they are basically depriving the Congress of potentially young good leaders. If you see that
Uh-huh.
very few leaders of 75 plus have been taken. Now this is something Gandhis cannot do. There is no template. How do you hold back anyone? You
Hmm.
look what happened in Madhya Pradesh. I'm not taking a political position. I'm
Right.
just saying, election takes place, people are ministers, they leave ministerial berths, 25 MLAs go the other side, by election, most of them come back, become ministers again, and they complete this kind of 3.5 years of this. Now, this is bizarre. This defies the logic of parliamentary democracy, party politics, ideology, etc., whatever we can think of.
Mr. Kidwai, the Congress is losing its young blood, as you say, young leaders, which the BJP is picking. But as far as the leadership of the Congress party is concerned, one really doesn't know who's leading it. Is it Rahul calling the shots from behind? Is Sonia Gandhi and her, clique of leaders actually being able to? Or are they constantly fighting with each other? You being somebody who understands the Congress party and its working, can you decipher this for us? Who actually is running the party right now?
Okay, I think Manoj, see this whole thing about this leadership tussle in the Congress and all is a bit, elitist, fashionable, and media creation.
Mm-hmm.
Every congressman worth his salt knows the political leadership is with the Gandhis.
Mm-hmm.
Gandhis means Sonia Gandhi, who's kind of fading out because of her age and health, etc. And there is Rahul Gandhi, who was Congress president, who will become, and there is Priyanka Gandhi, who's there to assist him. Gandhis have a long history of working in pairs. When Jawaharlal Nehru was prime minister, Indira Gandhi was an official hostess, and she was doing a lot of things. When Indira
Right.
was relevant and important, first Sanjay Gandhi, then he died, then Rajiv Gandhi came in. It is only Sonia Gandhi who, from 98 till 2004, worked, alone. In 2004, she was joined by Rahul Gandhi. So there is this tendency is there. I want to ask you something, Maruf. Tomorrow, if Shashi Tharoor becomes Congress president, Mukul Vasni becomes Congress president, Ashok Gehlot becomes Congress president, do you think the average voter who has voted for Modi and BJP would switch, would start voting for Congress just because Rahul is not Congress president? I think this is a bit rich and elitist.
Okay. I have a few disagreements with the argument, but I'll still let it be. Mr. Kidwai, now we have the position of the Congress president is still vacant. We have the AICC elections to those have also not happened. After all, somebody is maneuvering this. Somebody is ensuring that the leadership stays with the Gandhis. I know that without the Gandhis, the Congress party might not have too many stake. But when does it come to intra-party democracy? When does that happen?
I think this has a lot of relevance. The problem with Congress is not only this is a grand old party, it is also very allergic to change, and it doesn't understand what common man or I would say the neutral voter wants or expects. They would point a finger at that. Look, this is true also. No political party in India is, so to say, has inner party democracy, because theoretically speaking, again, see, consensus has no place in a democracy. Democracy is all about numbers. So
Right.
you see a victory of 41 and 49, 51 and 49 would be, a victory of majority, whereas the 49 people have been against it. So these political parties are very wary of displaying it, and so are, Gandhis. So they just keep, there is a technicality in it. Actually, Rahul was elected in 2017. It was a 5-year tenure. As per Congress constitution, whoever comes in now will be there only till November, December 2022. So maybe Rahul is reluctant to be just a short time, and they think that Sonia Gandhi is interim chief, they can go on. But politics is got a lot to do with optics, particularly the way Mr. Narendra Modi and the BJP are functioning. So therefore, the Congress is getting a big zero in this whole thing. The problem with dissidents are they are not also making use of Congress party constitution. It says that 15%, just 15% of them get together and force them to have elections, hold AICC session, hold meetings, etc. They are not doing it. So both, I keep saying and writing, see, the congressmen are happy to be unhappy.
Isn't that a problem with a large number of people by and large, and also the Congress party?
Yes, so that, I mean, yes. Just to elaborate very quickly. See, because when you have a sense of helplessness, the beginning, I said, when you have no hope, how do you blame? You can go on criticizing Modi, but it's not making any difference to the voters. So what do? So you pick up all these things. Yeah, Rahul is not good enough. See, one key point, Maruf, we must remember, and our viewers should also ponder over it. See, the Gandhis have a no record of a political failure. Nehru was prime minister and Congress president, till he died. Indira Gandhi was in the same position. Rajiv Gandhi was a Congress president and on a comeback trial to be, the prime minister. So See, if Gandhi's, just theoretically speaking, if Gandhi's were to go out, congressmen themselves don't want that. So it's like a very, protected, chicken and egg kind of story.
No, it's a very interesting point you raised, Mr. Kidwai, and I want to ask you, dynasties. On the one hand, the entire argument in contemporary India is that people don't want dynastic politics anymore. They want political leaders based largely on merit. And perhaps you might be raising the same point in your book also. I haven't read it yet. If you could show the viewers, I believe you have a copy of it, The House of Scindias. You talk about how dynasties have stayed, obviously through autocratic times as they were monarchs, and now in democratic times also. So do you believe that dynasties and dynastic politics is here to stay in India for a while?
I think dynasties are a kind of, very antithesis of democracy. But in India, there are many, kind of, I would say, very unique features of our parliamentary democracy, our experience in last 75 years. And this has been one of it. It's very, I would say, democratic, dynasty, because everyone passes the dynasty test. Like I've written in my book, The House of Scindias, that, the Scindias have been winning election in parliament and state assembly since 1957. So basically, they have a seal of approval, and their kind of dynasty started from 1731. So nowhere in the world that you will come across a political, a kind of ruling family, whether it was autocratic regime or a democracy. How do you
Hmm.
question it, Manoj? I would tell you something far more interesting. There are about 25 to 40% regard. I mean, depends whether because we have a very kind of
Hmm.
feminist outlook also. 25 to 40% of women representation in parliament has been in dynasty, like people, was somebody married in a
Hmm.
political family. Then it's far more easy to make it a cut. Someone's daughter, someone's wife, someone's
Right.
widow. Many
Hmm.
of them have got it. Imagine if dynasty was not there, this 25 to 40% of women in parliament would not have been there.
Hmm.
So this is something
Interesting.
very interesting, and I think as long as it has people's approval, it's fine. But there is a problem. I have a problem in the sense that a Digvijay Singh's son becomes MLA, okay, at the age of 28 or 30. Now he blocks the way for all those people who are 50 or past 50 or so. So in a way, dynasty is also very anti democracy at a political party level, because
Hmm.
I would have edge over not only my contemporaries, those who were seniors, simply because my parents were in politics. So
Hmm.
that kind of advantage of getting ticket
Is that
is
much
is a
more?
very is a very disturbing feature. Not about getting elected.
Hmm. So let me ask you this. 2024 is the next big election. Of course, there is Uttar Pradesh next year and so on. Sharad Pawar set the cat amongst the pigeons and said, has started talking about an anti-BJP front and so on. Do you see such a front being there ahead of 2024, and how crucial a role will the Congress party play? Will it be the magnet that brings all the parties together, or is it going to be sidelined because of its abysmal election record?
I'm going to say something which is little kind of controversial. I think
Hmm.
whenever people of India, voters of India, get fed up with Narendra Modi, they would look for an alternative. So they would
Hmm.
not look for a personality cult. They would look
Hmm.
for people, a set of professionals, regional parties, smaller parties who kind of offer some fulfill their aspirations. So that would be a model. I don't know whether it's
Hmm.
going to happen in 2024 or 2029. What Sharad Pawar, Prashant Kishore, and many others are trying is quite logical. What they are
Hmm.
doing is you see, we need a magic figure in Parliament of 272 to be in
Right.
power
Hmm.
for any group or formation. So what they have done is informally they have divided into two parts. So regional parties will deliver half of 272, that being something around anything 130 to between 130 to
Hmm.
150, and expect the Congress to get the other half. So if the two halves of 272 can come together, or we can say 130, 136, 136, or whatever, 150 each or so, then Modi can be beaten. But that opposition story is very chaotic because you have Mamata Banerjee, you have M.K. Stalin, you have Chandrababu, you have all kind of assortment of, leaders who are very whimsical, who are very ambitious, and who have a, thing of what we call it, Pultu Pultu or Ayaram Gayaram, they have ability to switch sides. So that way, it's a very difficult roadmap, but not impossible. And I think opposition is talking. You very rightly pointed out UP. वो दिल्ली का रास्ता लखनऊ होकर के जाता है. Depends 2022 assembly elections of UP. I think they're going to be very crucial.
And finally, Mr. Kidwai, is Rahul Gandhi the Congress's biggest problem, or is that more a manufactured, image of this leader?
I think in Indian politics, success defines everything, and since Rahul has not tasted success, he remains a failure. I think at another level, I think Rahul is a very unconventional politician. He's not, more misunderstood. He is not a pappu. He understands things. He is actually has some principles. See, you look at template. He allowed Jyotiraditya Scindia or Jitin Prasad or Priyanka Chaturvedi, everyone to go. In the sense that he did not take, kind of major concessions. So he thinks that if anybody wants to leave the party, let that person go. He doesn't, he judges people. He's judging Congress people. He is not unlike Sonia Gandhi, their mother and son. But, Sonia Gandhi's style of working is very different. She's very lenient. She has she consensus building. She tries to take everyone along. And Rahul is actually a new age politician. So he thinks that unless the Congress, kind of tastes defeat and all kind of, hardship and adversity, it will not come up. You look at this, Madhav, very quickly, I just want to make one more point. See, the Gandhis are key campaigners. Who are the people who are the key campaigners after Gandhis? By own admission of Congress candidates, because I have studied it. It is people like, Navjot Sidhu, Muhammad Azharuddin, people who come from full background or sports background. They are the ones who are sought by Congress candidates. So the entire mass of, Congress working committee or 150 people who matter, they don't matter. And this is a root cause of Congress. This is a root cause of dependency model on Gandhi family. See, the 10 crores or 17 crore votes that they've got in 2014 and 17 is because, or 19, is because of Gandhis, not because of the G23.
All right, Mr. Kidwai, for your wonderful insights. Thank you so much for being on the Note.
Thank you. It was really, I would say, a difficult thing to be answering your very pertinent questions. I hope I've lived up to your expectations.
Absolutely, sir. It's been an honor to have you, Mr. Kidwai.
Thanks.